Keeping your business healthy in today's marketplace can be a challenging and overwhelming task. From the threat of litigation inside and outside your organization and the inefficiencies that can rob your bottom line as a result of unproven marketing programs, the deck can be stacked against you. To get ahead of these challenges and stay ahead of your competition, the Bottled Business Sense Show provides practical business solutions that uniquely emphasize key legal principles, management techniques, and marketing strategies to protect and ensure the longevity of your business. You'll learn how to implement marketing and protection principles equal to those used by today's most successful corporations. Join your hosts Bill Bernard, Rick Moscoso, and Steve Smith for some high-energy discussion that will inspire you to take control of your business so it can prosper in today's consistently challenging business environment.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Bill Bernard, and I'm one of your co-hosts at the Bottled Business Sense Show. We have our show, as you know, every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. We're on the BottledBusinessSenseShow.com and simulcast. We're on blogtalkradio.com/Bottled Business Sense Show for audio. You can listen to us at your leisure. You can watch us on our taped shows at your leisure by going to our website. In any event, we're here every week to do two things. We want to bring you tips that will help protect your business, and we want to bring you marketing tips that will help your business sail along and become prosperous. And in that endeavor, we've been doing this for going on close to 2 years now, and I have two co-hosts that participate with me, and that is Mr. Rick Moscoso and Mr. Steve Smith, who are waiting patiently here to be introduced. So without further ado, let me introduce both of them. Rick and Steve, how are you this AM?
Hey, Bill, I'm doing great over here as well. Looking forward to diving right into our show here.
So good. We could be found on social media. Rick will give all that information out, I'm sure, toward the end of the show. We are, of course, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. All you got to do is type in our name, Bottled Business Sense Show. And today we have a rather exciting show planned because we're going to talk about strategy and what content strategy you should adopt for attracting customers to your business. And I think that's a topic of interest for everybody. And I know that Steve and Rick know a great deal about this subject. I'm anxious to get into it today. And so why don't we have you take the lead, Steve, and tell us a little bit about what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Basically what the show is going to discuss today is some real detail about the kind of strategy you need to put together if you're going to use content as a marketing vehicle to grow your business. We've had shows in the past where we've talked about how to use content, the different types of content, what to use it for. And I know we've actually had shows in the past that have talked about how to identify your ideal client. So at this point, I thought a really good topic would be actually walking people through what do you have to do to connect those two using various modes of content so that you can be out there in the stream of discussion on the internet. Mm-hmm. And be able to be in front of people before they make a decision to go hire a business attorney. If they hire a business attorney, Bill, and then 2 days later they stumble upon one of your articles and they like what you have to say, it's kind of too late. So What you're really hoping is that whatever you put out there, whatever medium, whatever site you put it on, that somehow you're gonna touch these folks prior to them deciding who they're going to do business with, and based on the quality of your content, they'll choose you.
So what we're going to talk about today really has to do with whatever medium you want to use, whether it's, for example, it could be a video, it could be written material that's just dispersed by way of different websites or social media. Or it could even be used, I would assume, in some sort of marketing advertisement like promotions or pamphlets or things of that nature. Is that right?
Well, all of that is technically content, but the kind of content that I'm talking about is content that conveys value and solutions to people that you want to connect with because you have some sense of what their issues are. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. But, and believe me, I've run these tests before where I've gone out and put really good articles out on LinkedIn or Google Plus or other websites, and you can measure how many people view them, how many people like them, how many people comment on them. And then I've gone and in the same way, I might, next week I put out some kind of a promotion, and sometimes I get hideous results. And all that tells me is that promotions aren't bad by nature, but you can't mix the two together, because if people recognize you as somebody that delivers really good content, that's what they want. They want your content. So you can't really disappoint them, or otherwise you kind of confuse, in their minds what you're out there doing.
And I assume this is all going to get the process that we're going to talk about, Steve, I assume is going to be premised on the type of business that you're in?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Rick, you're in video, so do you use any other form of content to deliver any kind of message out there, or try to make connections, or try to display who you are as a business professional other than video?
Well, of course. So you have a website, which is relatively static. You have email marketing, which is obviously a different medium, but I would have to say the majority of my outbound marketing is video content, just only because that's what I do.
Right. Okay. So that's a really good example, and video is a very much growing medium that people like to watch. I will tell you this, because I've learned this from myself. Every medium that you take a look at has its pros and its cons. And video has a lot of pros to it, but the con is it doesn't fit for every situation. So there's going to be times where what you're trying to convey to people may not be totally suitable in video, which is kind of why I like these shows that we're doing, because sometimes it's a lot easier for people to just listen to what you're talking about. If you got a really good subject going, and you got a good conversation, and there's a lot of meat in it, but there's a lot of weirdness going on the screen, or stuff that distracts people, sometimes watching a show can be difficult. Whereas if they can peel off that audio, they can watch that or they can listen to it while they're driving, while they're running, while they're walking, while they're doing whatever, because listening doesn't require that you're staring at something at the same time. So a lot of times it's understanding how people like to receive information that helps you determine what's the best medium for you to serve your content up in.
And to give a real good example of that, I think, Steve, would be while I don't want to dissuade people from looking at our three handsome faces every week on the show, that's quite a bit different than if we were showing a video on how to do something, like a YouTube video on how to construct something or put it together. Yes. That's going to be a video that, as they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, so where do you start with all this? Okay, and one of the things that I've recognized through my own endeavors and with working a lot of other folks is that because people don't have a kind of a holistic understanding of the complete strategy of using content marketing, what ends up happening is they kind of inject themselves in various areas. They start a blog, okay, and they just run with that for a while, and nothing happens. And so they get frustrated and they go, okay, well, content marketing doesn't work for me, so I'm not going to do it anymore. And so that's what I find is that because people don't start it in the logical place and think about where they're going with it and how they're going to deliver it and what means they're going to use to make it a regular part of their weekly activity, they don't get the full benefit out of it, because like anything else, it takes time for it to get up and running and for people to figure you out and decide they like your stuff, and they're willing to wait for you to write something and post it again.
Well, let's use Rick as an example here. We'll use him as the guinea pig today. If we were going to analyze Rick's business and what he does, how would we, if we wanted to walk somebody through this, where would we start with Rick's business in terms of what kind of content marketing he would use to advertise his particular business? Okay, perfect. All right, so Rick, you're going to be the petri dish for us today, okay?
Okay.
All right. So first off, tell me this. Who is your ideal client for your video service? If you could have 100 of these people lined up at your door waiting for you to provide your service, who are they? Tell me what they look like. And before you answer that, Rick, I want to just point out for the audience and for Steve as well, now we've got Captivate365.com. So tell me if I'm wrong, Rick, but now that business has actually gone, it's expanded even beyond video marketing, right? So that'll have to be included in your answer, I would assume. But you tell us.
Yeah. I guess the ideal client, regardless of discipline, category, type of service, it's really the business owner who just doesn't know how to do video marketing, just doesn't know how to start. They know they want to do it, but they just need a coach or they need a consultant to really walk them through how to do it correctly. So it can be a really simple how-to video. It can be a branding video. It can be for instance, it could be a real estate agent that just needs a property shot and they want a walkthrough of a listing. Is there one specific target market? For me, that's really hard to say because there's not really one that I tend to get more of one versus more of the other. That could just be the place I'm at right now with the people that I work with.
Okay, all right. So you could have a couple of different ideal clients. I have 3 personally. Okay, but all I'm interested in at this point is give me one that you either like working with now or you'd like to have more of in the future, and just tell me who that is. Just pick one.
Well, obviously, one of the people that I love working with is Devin, from Doherty Real Estate Group. I do a lot of his outbound production. We do content marketing twice a week that we email out to his database.
Okay,
in the
all right.
form.
Sorry. Okay, yeah. So don't try not to get ahead of this process, or the people watching this won't understand where we're going with it. So realtors are the people that you would like to attract more of. Is that right?
Sure. Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
What's the primary reason a realtor would want a video?
Well, obviously they want to stand out. They want to do something a little bit different than the competition, and they want to be relevant. And what they're telling me is that video is really the way to go.
Okay, so they're going to be promoting themselves as a real estate professional that they're hoping various residential or commercial clients will see and decide they want to work with them.
Absolutely. They actually use me as a closing tool because of the types of services I can provide them that makes them look better than the other guy.
Okay. Do you know what issues they run into that make them feel like video is the answer?
Can you be more specific with that, or?
Yeah, there's a lot of realtors out there. They're all trying to market their business. Hold on. Oh, dang, I hate that. I don't know where it's going at this point. Okay. The real estate, especially here in Southern California, is a very, very competitive market. There's thousands of them out there. So they're all vying for exposure. They're all vying to be the chosen realtor, So in the process of trying to get to that point, what kind of problems do they run into? What areas are they battling from a marketing standpoint for which they've decided video is the answer?
Well, obviously their current ways of marketing isn't working. It's not getting them leads. It's not helping them build credibility. They seem to answer the same types of entry-level questions with clients or potential clients that they could really answer up front in the form of video, so they don't have to rehash it every time. And when they finally do meet with them, at least the client or potential client will have gotten to know them and gotten past some of the concerns that they have, because they've already seen or heard what they have to say. And if they've gotten past that stage, there's got to be a reason why that worked, because they're calling them to meet with them.
Okay, so now we've defined who your best client is, or one of your best clients. We've defined why they want video. So now the next question is, what is it you bring to the video experience working with these folks that makes you unique and distinctive amongst all videographers out there?
Well, that's kind of a self-serving question, but I would say here's what my clients tell me.
Yeah, but I think that's important. You got to define that. I agree. It is self-serving, but you got to be self-serving to some extent, right, Steve?
Yeah, well, here's the deal, and this is the next question I'll just throw in now so you kind of have a lead on it. Whatever you define yourself as being distinctive in, it's only relevant if your clients recognize that distinction in you. If you're the only one that sees it, then it probably doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. But if everybody around you, whether they've worked directly with you, they collaborate with you, they just know you really well, if they can say, yeah, that's Rick, then you've got a distinction that's marketable. Mm-hmm. If they don't see it or they don't agree with it, then you're not going to be able to do anything with it.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. So with that being said, I know I frequently people will work with me because they like the way that I'm able to tell a story about them, with them, and for them, versus just putting a video camera on a tripod and just letting it record. Right? There's a lot more storytelling involved for the end user or the end consumer than just doing that. Obviously, there's a place for that, but the initial hook, the initial why you should hire me, is all about creating a story, creating a presence, and opening yourself up to more conversation further on down the road when you actually do end up meeting them.
Okay. All right. So now that we're at the point where you've identified one of your ideal clients and you've identified what's important to them, what they struggle with, what they're trying to find a solution for, and you've identified what you do as a videographer that basically helps that situation. Let me ask you this. What kind of video content marketing have you done for yourself lately?
So as I've and Bill has helped me with this, set up a new entity. Some of the content marketing that I've put out there is that I've had that I can recycle and rebrand is tutorials like we're talking about here, but more in short form. All right. I have a branding video that we're finalizing, a brand new branding video that we're finalizing that reflects the style, the consultative style that I use and the approach that I like to take with clients. So there's a lot of tutorials for the DIY guy. There's content marketing as far as these are the types of things. These are the top 5 things you need to consider if you're going to do email marketing or video email marketing, that sort of thing. But I think the most important thing for me that I coach my clients on is that you really have to make sure in your branding video that you really portray or communicate the right message that will connect you with your target market, so you can go on to the next step, and that's meeting the client and finding out how you can help them best.
All right, so basically we've covered what I consider to be the 3 major aspects of really good content marketing. It's understanding who you're talking to. It's having a delivery system that gets it out to them in a medium and in a place where they can find it and they will actually watch it, they'll engage it. And then the third piece, which is really the most important, is what message are you sending? Remember, in marketing like this, it's like trying to have a conversation with somebody you've never met before. So where do you start? What do you do to give them a sense that they should spend that couple of minutes watching you because something you've let off with has piqued their interest or is hit in some area that they're working on, that they're trying to find a solution for. So the messaging piece, which I find, in all honesty, a lot of videographers that I've worked with and I've known don't do a very good job with. They really don't. They kind of take you through some proverbial steps on how to, write your script and do all this kind of stuff, but they're not really good at that. And so what ends up happening is you get a really high quality, great looking video that doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
Well, the whole antithesis to this, Steve, I guess, is that some people just start a business and they go out and just start knocking on doors, not literally, although some people may do that, making phone calls, sending out promotional items without understanding who it is they're looking for, right?
Yes, and there's nothing wrong with making phone calls or knocking on doors or networking, which all three of us have done, tons of. Or opening up a LinkedIn account or a Facebook page or putting up your website. Those are all marketing tools, okay? The problem with those is just about every one of them has a limitation to them. You only have so much time during the week to network. Mm-hmm. And if you're networking in the wrong places, you're not talking to the right people, your results might be disappointing. You can smile and dial and call hundreds of places a day. There again, you're dependent on the quality of the list you're working with. Mm. All of these things have limitations. But when you get on the internet, it's virtually limitless. And that's why I don't suggest people make an entire meal, their entire marketing strategy out of content marketing. But they should have there should be a nice healthy slice of what you're doing that falls in that space. Because you'll be able to reach people and have people look at your stuff that from day to day you'll never know about.
Well, here's how I think content marketing also helps you in the two. You mentioned two big broad categories: networking and getting on social media sites. I think it develops a habit in you to where, let's say you're at a big marketing event, a networking event. And you're at a networking event, and you're going around. You are going to be more drawn to and know when to start and continue or cut short a conversation based on getting to know whether that person you're speaking to fits into your content marketing strategy, right? And you're going to spend more time with that people. Likewise, on the social media sites, you're going to start targeting people. Not only with the content that you want, but you're going to start targeting that content towards the people that fit into your content marketing scheme and strategy, right? So it's going to develop, it's going to be like a habit-forming thing for you almost.
You're going to develop a sixth sense for the kind of people that you're looking to connect with, you're looking to build relationships with. Now, you and I know, in all the years that we've been doing networking in various organized and semi-organized groups, that you run into a lot of great people that you just personally like, but there really isn't any business potential there, at least not immediately, maybe never. Right. It doesn't mean that you don't maintain relationships with those kind of people. It just means you understand during the conversation what the difference is.
Mm-hmm. And isn't there some value in explaining your content strategy in various ways to those people anyway, because to some extent, because those people may be able to then target other people for you that fit into your strategy?
Well, I'm not sure I'd spend any time explaining the strategy, but what I might do is I might offer them opportunities to connect up, to get into the stream. So like you, Bill, I know you have a newsletter. If you get into a conversation with somebody and they like some of the things you're talking about, a great parting shot is, hey, I have a newsletter that I talk about this kind of stuff. If you're interested, I'll send you a link. You can sign up. Yeah. So they give you the business card. Now you got a reason to connect with them. Right. You could after you get home, I make a practice now. Everybody I run into at a networking event that I think, wow, I really like that person, I like connecting with them. First thing I do is get home and I go on LinkedIn and I find him and I shoot him a connection. Yeah. So as many different ways as you can find ways to connect these people. Now you've basically said, okay, I have a seat in my community and I want you to sit there because next week I'm throwing out another great article and you're going to get a copy of it. Yeah. So you're kind of working things on both sides, but again, it's matching up what you have to offer with people that want it. If you're getting a whole bunch of people in your community that have no interest in what you do, well, then you're just collecting numbers, and a lot of that happens. But what I'm trying to do is get people to recognize that you can orchestrate it up front to have it work the way you want. If you just go at it willy-nilly, it's going to work some other way, and it's probably not going to be what you want.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing because you know, like anything else you do in your business, you're going to have to develop a strategy on how you want to go forward, and certainly, I mean, we've talked about this before, but I think it's worth mentioning again, Steve. If you were going to rate how you should promote your business, understanding that you're going to have certain target clients, where would content marketing rate in that hierarchy, and what else besides content marketing would be in a plan for a business owner once they get started in this whole rigmarole?
Okay. If you have a service-based business, you're an attorney, I'm a business coach. You know, Rick is kind of straddles the line a bit there because he produces video, which is physical to some degree. You can see it, but you're also providing a service. So, you know, you're kind of straddling the line a bit there. But if you're in a service-based business, content marketing should be nearly at the top of your list.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's what's changed in the consumer's world today, whether you're a customer or a client. What's changed is people are no longer interested in just whether it's available from you. That might be a consideration, but there's a chance that what they're looking for is probably available from 3 or 4 or 5 other people.
Right.
They're not necessarily looking at price, although they probably want the best value, which again doesn't equate to price. Yeah. It just means what kind of item am I getting for the money I'm paying for? What all that points to is how much do I know about the person that runs this business? Can I trust them? Do they know what they're talking about? Are they really embedded in the profession they're in? So I can know working with them that I'm going to get the absolute best service or product or experience that I can possibly do. So if that's really what consumers are looking at as that kind of petri dish for saying I'm going to hire you, Bill, to put my incorporation papers together, as opposed to the other 3 lawyers I've been looking at, you've got to be able to set yourself up as what we call a thought leader, somebody who really understands not only their own profession, but they understand the situations that their clients get into for which they provide a solution.
Mm-hmm. Right. Makes perfect sense. Listen, I don't want to leave anybody out, Steve. So can we take the last few minutes of the show and just talk briefly about how would your marketing strategy differ if you're not in a service-based business, but rather in a product-based business?
Well, if you're in a product-based business, and presumably the product can be bought from anywhere, then obviously you've got to decide what your retail or your distribution vehicle is going to look like. Do you have a shop? Do you have a store where people can come in and look? Are you selling everything completely online? Which means at that point, you've got to have a network of things set up to where people can find you. And then you can direct them right to the place where you want them to buy. Some people have their product in their e-commerce right on their website. Other people use places like Amazon. Facebook is becoming more and more of a place where you can kind of set up shop, and conduct business on your Facebook page.
So would there be a strategy involved to marketing content to people that rather would buy online versus people that would actually come into the store physically?
Well, it doesn't matter whether they're going to buy it online or they're going to make a trip to the store if it's in a geographical proximity. Again, you get back to the thing that people are thinking about in the early stages. What am I buying, and who am I going to buy it from? And so who they buy it from in a product-based business is based largely on what that business can share with them to help them make a really good selection. So here's an example. Let's say you were going to go out and buy a brand new gas grill for your backyard. And this time you were just going to go for the Cadillac version. You were going to get the one that's got the heating panels and all the other little, good stuff, and you were willing to spend upwards of about $2,000 on a grill for your backyard. All right. Mm-hmm. You'd go out there and you'd start doing research.
Right.
Well, chances are you're going to want to do product comparisons. You're going to want to find out what features are really valuable, versus which ones don't really make any difference. You're going to look for information to help you understand, how am I going to get the most for that $2,000 I'm willing to spend? Well, chances are the website or the place you're looking for information that provides that kind of knowledge from a proprietor selling gas grills, he's probably going to earn your business quicker than everybody else. Because he's giving you insights into how to make a good decision, how to spend your money wisely. And most people, if they really find value in the content, they will reciprocate by at least going and looking at that person first to see if that's the person they want to do business with.
Yeah, very good. And there's one last thing I wanted to cover, and it will be brief about it because I know we're short on time. But one of the things I've always thought about is when you give discounts or sales on certain services or products, Steve, do you when you approach that, is it more likely than not that people are going to be drawn by the reduction in price on a product or a service after they've already done business with you or before they've done business with you in order to draw them in? Because I've always had some suspicion about reducing value by reducing price just to get customers to come through the door. It doesn't seem to me to be the right way to do things. Am I on the right track?
Yeah, and one of the things I've always cringed at is when I see businesses that are launching new products or new services, and the very first thing they lead with is a discount. And the problem with that is until you have very clearly cemented the value of that product or service in the minds of the people who are looking for it,
right?
Discount doesn't mean anything. 10% off. 10% off what? What? I don't even know based on your regular price if maybe your price is already 20% too high. So you've really got to do the job of marketing the value and the solution-driven benefits of the product before you start giving out discounts, because when you do that, all you really do is attract people who are only prone to buying cheap. And many businesses get into that kind of that dark hole of having people that only want cheap, which means they're probably going to complain more than anybody else, and they're going to send other people to your place that only want cheap. And you can't live off of a business serving a population of customers like that. You have to establish value first.
So then now if you've got the value and you've got a good clientele, what would be the benefit then of giving a discount at all? What's the benefit that you receive from those discounts?
Well, there isn't any to the business other than the fact that they think that by discounting a product, they're going to sell more of it. Usually what happens is they don't really sell that much more. They just make less money on the sales.
Yeah. Maybe they've got to move a certain volume of product and get it out the door so they can take a new kind of product in. Some strategy behind the scenes that don't have anything to do with making actual money.
No, and look, and that's a perfect strategy. My third brother works for Ross Dress Company.
Right.
And he develops stores, and their whole model is based on you can buy it for less, name brands for less in their store. That's their whole strategy. Well, they buy the product cheap enough to be able to sell it like that, and they've got everybody trained that if you go in there, you're not always going to find everything every time you're there, but what you find there is going to be discounted above retail at another department store or another clothing store. So that's their strategy, and that it works for them.
Well, that's interesting. So the value for Ross is the actual reduction in price itself. In other words, that in and of itself is the value that Ross markets in their content strategy, right? In other words, we're the best for less. In other words, our whole marketing strategy is that the value you get is that we always have great products at lower prices.
Right. And they've chosen to go after that segment of the market. Now, Let's take a look at another account or another company in the same industry, but at the other end of the spectrum. Look at Nordstrom's, okay? Nordstrom's doesn't do that. Now, Nordstrom's provides incredible value and benefit to customers that come in there, but once a year, Nordstrom's runs a sale.
Yeah.
Once a year.
Yeah.
And everybody knows what their stuff is worth. Everybody knows what the stuff costs. So once a year, people are going in there and just lapping up stuff because the value proposition's already been established in their minds. They know what the real value of getting something at 40 or 50% less is all about.
Well, another great marketer, I think, Steve and Rick, is he does the same thing once a year, right? Men's Warehouse, right? They have the once a year Men's Warehouse sale. Right? And boy, he does a great job with that. He's got that place. People really think that they're getting a great value, and I'm not saying that facetiously. They really believe they're getting a great value when they walk in there and they buy suits.
Well, and when you're talking about a material product like clothing, or you're talking about a kind of a quasi-material product like video, okay, because you're not paying for the actual disc or the thumb drive, you're paying for the imaging sequence that comes on it, but that's still what I would consider a product. People can look at that and they can make a judgment as to the quality. What you and I do, Bill, in the professional service sector, we don't really have any tangible stuff that we can hand somebody, right off the bat that conveys that level of quality. So now what do people look at? Well, they look at you, How good a lawyer are you really? Can I trust you? Will you do right by me? Are you going to win the case? Are you going to take care of my lawsuit problem?
Yeah.
They've got to figure that out before they even call you up, or they're never going to call you. And that's why content marketing works for businesses like yours.
That's right. And I think Rick's in a very unique situation to some extent, because with Captivate 365 and what he does, I can tell you that using video in your content marketing strategy is one thing, but using video in your content marketing strategy with the input that Rick provides you as you're doing the video is 100-fold. It's 100 times different. So you're actually getting the benefit of his expertise while you're getting that hard copy that you spoke of at the end of the process. It's very fascinating stuff.
So, Rick, other than video, is there any other type of content that you use in order to promote and educate people on what you do?
Well, other than the topics that we talked about before, there's obviously we all network. We get out in front of people. I'm part of a professional networking group. That's how I, build these relationships so I can, get good referrals from them. But as far as creating video and other content marketing, I've really gotten away from doing, really fancy smancy type of brochures or anything like that. That info will come more in the means of an email marketing campaign or something along those lines.
Well, what's interesting about this, Steve, is that Rick actually is in a position where he has to know the content strategy of the businesses he's doing videos for, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, he not only has to know what kind of clients he may want to draw in particular, but then when somebody comes through his door, he's got to be familiar with what they need to market their business. So, and I mean, so do you, Steve. You're kind of in the same boat.
Rick, I don't know all of the packages or services or things that you offer, so I'll just throw this out because it's kind of speaking to me as we're having this conversation. Usually, and I'm thinking realtors probably would be a good one for this. To me, the value of doing videos would be doing a sequence of them. So not just doing one video, but maybe doing 5 or 6 that get into very specific aspects of a longer process. And that gives people an opportunity to have more content to put out there and to keep people coming back because now they get to learn the next chapter of the book. That to me has a lot of value to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've done that many times before where a sequence is too long to deliver in one big chunk. Not many of us have 20 minutes, 30 minutes to sit and listen to a whole thing, right? Or even watch a whole thing. But if you chunk that down into, 4 or 5 minutes and drip it out, well, then it keeps them hanging, keeps them interested, and then you give them little bites as time goes on. And the beauty about that is that keeps your brand, your name, your service top of mind because now they're expecting more from you.
Now, when you cut videos for your own business, where do you tend to go with them? What do you do with them?
As far as marketing to potential clients, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. What's your method of distribution?
Okay, so I built a pretty good following. It's not gigantic like some of these realtors that I work with. But it is it's a nice sized database that I email market to on a monthly and bi-monthly regular basis. And so what I'm really sending to them is is in various forms. Okay, so we all know video marketing in the form of, I guess, what you're watching now, right? But there are other types of video that I talk about, other forms of communication, and one of those that really get a lot of interest and get a lot of traction are these explainer videos, or even animation videos that just captures them because it's different. And those are the types of things that I subtly slip in there because it's engaging, but it also helps communicate some of the other things that I can do other than the standard, put a camera on a tripod and just shoot me.
Right. See, I mean, in some respects, see what I do, I have a big choice in how I distribute my content. I can write articles. I do guest blogging for other businesses that want to feature, article on their site. I do audios, audio podcasts, which is a kind of a function of these shows. I do video series. I write, ebooks. I have a large spectrum of content mediums that I can deliver my message on. You, on the other hand, are kind of sequestered into video because that's what you do. So the best way to do that is do it in a platform where people can actually see it live. Right. So when you do that, then you've got to figure out, what am I saying on these videos, and how am I getting them out in front of the people who I want to watch them?
Yep. Well, listen, guys, we're coming up short on time here, and this has really been a great discussion. I hope everybody takes advantage of this video, and I hope everybody also takes it a step further if they need to, and they contact Steve and/or Rick and have them participate in your plan to develop a content marketing strategy, because I think by listening to this, you can clearly see how important this is. So real quick, since we are running short on time, we've gone a little bit over today. Rick, why don't you tell everybody where we can get a hold of you, and then we'll go right to Steve and have him do the same.
Sure. Best way is to come to my website at captivate365.com. My contact information is right there on the front page. You can also reach out to me at 949-667-1182 or Rick at captivate365.com.
And Steve?
Yeah, the best way, again, for me is go to my website. It's growthsourcecoaching.com. You can get my phone number and my email right off the contact page. You can also see a variety of articles and other things that I've done to kind of give you an idea of how somebody like myself can help you tune up your strategy, because it's all about the strategy. If you don't have a strategy that you really believe in and you're willing to stick with, then all the extraneous stuff you spend money on is probably not going to work for you.
Right. And I'll give anybody a $50 discount on my legal fees if they can say growth source coaching 3 times fast. So call me up. And do that. There's my little advertisement for today's show.
You're going to be holding on to that $50 for a while, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it probably won't go very far, is what I was expecting to hear. But we do give free consultations. So believe me when I tell you it's worth it. Worth the phone call. Well, guys, it was a great show today. I appreciate it, sitting back and listening to your expertise on this stuff, as I always do. We'll be back the same time next week. Again, bottlebusinessshow.com, blogtalkradio.com/bottlebusinessshow. Look us up on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook. We are all over the place. All you got to do is Google us. So until next week, gentlemen, have a great, prosperous week, everybody. And my 2 co-hosts the same, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next week.
All right. Take care, Bill.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.